So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question, and Dr. Steve Schalintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schalintz, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And we are on the last episode of this series from moving from disease care to healthcare. And if you have been following along, basically what we started with is identify the practice you want and create your office vision. Then you're going to identify your ideal client. Then you're going to define what I consider a blue ocean strategy in your practice. And then we talked about how you're going to build around the blue ocean on the last podcast episode. And on this last episode, we are going to talk about marketing this blue ocean. Now, marketing is a huge phrase in dentistry right now. And every time I turn something on, somebody's asking a question about how to, market on Instagram or Facebook and all of these different avenues, all of these different social media platforms and SEO and all of these things. Very, very important. But I will tell you, most of the time when people are starting to create a blue ocean, they're usually pretty unique, whether it's sleep apnea or and even sleep apnea, just generalized sleep apnea treatment in a dental office now is becoming kind of red. It's becoming a bloody ocean that a lot of dentists are already doing that. There's some specific strategies, in my opinion, about creating a sleep practice as a separate entity or creating a different type of sleep apnea treatment that's not necessarily traditional down and forward. All of these things could be considered blue oceans. What I have seen over and over and over again is that the traditional methods of marketing through Facebook and Instagram, while great, don't necessarily really hone in on your blue ocean. So I'm going to talk about different ways you can market organically without spending a massive amount of money on SEO, Instagram, Facebook, etc. First word of warning, dentist, I will tell you, please, if you're trying to use Facebook or Instagram or any of these social media outlets, you can do it organically, but don't ever forget that you, as a dentist, your role is to do the dentistry and be the leader of your team. Stop dabbling in, hey, I'm going to go set up my Instagram feeds and my posts, unless you love doing it. But most dentists that I've talked to are not naturals at it, and they're completely getting distracted by things that don't actually matter. Right? You're spending hours and hours and hours trying to raise your Instagram profile when in reality you have 40 followers and it's the same 25 patients. Nobody else has seen this. That is a waste of your time. You're better off to find people that do that for a living, find people that you resonate with, and then say, how do I do this organically and build up my practice the way that I want to build it up without me taking all of this time? Remember, your role as a dentist, especially if you're an owner, is to A, do the dentistry, and B, give your team office direction and vision. Let a team member do the Facebook stuff. Let a team member do the Instagram stuff or the Twitter stuff, whatever the case may be. So that's my little rant before I even get into marketing around a blue ocean. Okay, so now that I did that, let's talk about actually marketing a blue ocean. Now, I'm going to use my specific example to give you some feedback and some kind of guidance as you're starting to think about your own blue ocean. I have a practice. My blue ocean, my practice within a practice, is doing full mouth reconstructions or full mouth rehabilitations, minimally invasive with flowable composite for TMD, TMJ patients. Very niche, right? Very, very niche. And I'm not going to talk about the logistics of how I actually do that, although I'm launching a program with one of my partners, Dan O'Rourke, and we will be doing that, which is absolutely phenomenal. And we're going to be able to do that online, which I am pumped and excited about and can't wait to continue to work on that with him. And we will be launching that early August, which is right around the corner. So I'm really, really pumped about that. But when I started to do this type of dentistry, I knew that my marketing approach had to change. And I wasn't going to be able to talk exclusively about this stuff on Facebook. I knew I could use Facebook, but it might be more of Q&A styles and really getting in with these patients and using Facebook Live to talk about what it is I do. But there was one specific strategy that I used that I think still is a game changer, and that is the lunch and learn for other offices in my area. What I started to do is I said, okay, my biggest thing is getting patients to have this specific thing so when they come into me, they're already predetermined, pre-ready to go, and they understand what it is that they're getting involved in before they ever walk into my practice. Absolutely huge. Takes the learning curve down, it takes the time spent with the patient down, and it allows me to do what I need to do in a much more efficient manner. So I said, how do I actually get that accomplished? And I knew I had to go into these separate practices, whether they're chiropractors, ENTs, naturopaths, other dentists, specialists, it didn't matter. But I knew I had to have a presentation that I could get across my message in 30 to 40 minutes, open it up for question and answer, have them understand why I'm unique and different as a dentist and why they would want to send their patients to me. I knew I had to do that. So literally what I would do is I would invite these teams in their office. I bought a projector, I bought a screen, and I said, listen, the way that we'd love to do this is I specialize, I tell them specialize. You know that that's not actually technically true, but I specialize in helping patients that have TMD or worn teeth, and I do it in a minimally invasive fashion so we're not cutting all their teeth down for crowns. And if you guys are open to it, I'd love to give you a little 30-minute demonstration about what we do in our practice and how we can collaborate with you so that we can help patients in your practice. Would you be interested in doing that? And you know, some offices are, some offices aren't. Some you send them letters, you got to follow up, just like any other type of sales presentation. But most practices say, okay, yeah, we'll do that. It's free lunch for our team, so buy the lunch for their team. And my main goal is actually to convert the team members, not necessarily the doctors in these practices, because a lot of the doctors are already tied up in referral sources, so they can't really recommend one place or the other, but their team members don't have that level of loyalty. So I want them to be thinking about, oh my gosh, I know a friend that has this. I want to be sending them here, right? So when I go in, I really honed this presentation. I really created something that I am proud of, that cuts through all the minutia of technical dentistry and gets to the heart of what these patients that they have truly want and how we can help them. And I will tell you, I get more referrals from that one specific thing alone than everything else we do in our practice. And that cost me almost nothing. It cost me 60 to 70 bucks per lunch and then an hour of my time, where I'm usually taking that during my lunch break anyway, or a time where I'm not in my practice. And I'm able to go to all these different offices and give this presentation. Here's a side benefit of doing it. It's actually gotten me much more comfortable when I'm talking to my own patients, because I've went over this presentation over and over and over again. So I have this level of confidence when I'm talking to patients in my own practice that I didn't have when I started this process. So that's one way you can do it. Another is that you start to set up actual lunches with these different doctors in the area. They might not want to have you come in and talk to their whole staff, but they might be open to doing a lunch with you where you talk about collaborative partnerships and how you guys can work together in helping mutual patients. You have to start thinking differently, right? All of your referrals aren't coming from Facebook or Instagram, right? And when you start to get to this level of specialty with your Blue Ocean, your main job is to help people become aware of what you do and how you're different. And the best way to do that is get face-to-face with these providers that you're working with and let them know why you want to be able to help their patients, and then vice versa. Figure out what their Blue Ocean is. What makes them special? Why would I want to send them to that chiropractor versus the other chiropractor? Start to form relationships with the people in your community, and then you can even start to do free events for, you know, the Better Business Bureau, or maybe you have a couple of business owners that want to bring in people, or maybe you have, you know, some type of event for your patients, right? An educational event for your patients to talk about some of the things you do in your practice, and maybe they're not aware of it. So you really want to be thinking outside the box, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you do have to put some time in, because nobody is going to be aware of what you do until you inform them. And always, one of my favorite quotes in, you know, a marketing book that I read, I forgot which one it was, or where I heard it from, but it's continually resonated with me. And it's this: the second you get sick of talking about your message is exactly the point in time when people are finally starting to listen. So when you're talking about the things that you do and why you're unique and what's your why in your practice and what do you stand for, you have to say it over and over and over again. You have to say it to your team. You have to say it to your patients. You have to say it to yourself. And you have to continue to go over this and over this and over this. And you're going to start to develop a sickness, but you're also going to start to develop a confidence in what you're saying. And so when you're so sick of talking about your why, that's going to be the point that people are going to start to listen. You know, one of my mentors and one of the people that I look up to is Bob Proctor, and he has been basically doing a very similar talk or speech for the last 40 years. And you know he's done that 10 or 20 or 30,000 times. Most people would get so sick of it they wouldn't be able to continue. But he's taken that message and he's been able to say, because I'm so good at what I'm talking about now, I don't even have to think about it. And I can only focus on the audience and how to help the audience get where they want to go. That's where you want to be with your presentations. That's where you want to be with your why in your practice. You want to be it's so ingrained that it's a pattern of thought. You can't even not say it. That's where you want to be. And it's almost like pounding the pavement. You really do have to get out there. You really have to talk about why you're unique and different. And if you don't have that point, that differentiation, that's the first thing you have to work on. Because without that, you're not going to go anywhere in the 21st century when it comes to dentistry. You will be drowned out by the rest of the industry. I'm a solo provider and all I do is general dentistry and I'm going to make it work. That probably won't exist in the next 10 years. That practice will die. But I do think that there's still a place for a small practice with a solo provider or an associate and a solo provider, and they merge together and they create this truly remarkable wellness-centered approach to dentistry that bigger companies and chains and corporate and even larger doctor practices are going to be unable to replicate. So there's always opportunity in the marketplace. So, hopefully as you're listening to this, you got some ideas, you got some things to think about with your own practice. How do I market differently? How do I start to think about how do I get my message out there? And as always, if you guys get value out of this, go to my website, dentalpracticefreedomradio.com. And as my thank you for just checking out this podcast, leaving reviews, leaving comments, there's a 5-pack of case acceptance videos that is yours completely free. All you have to do is provide an email. They'll be sent to you. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback about how good those are. So hopefully you have a great, great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlitz. We'll see you on the next episode.